all serve to reinforce the grand mythology of agrofuels, which is we can consume our way out of overconsumption. And we're not talking about backyard operations or small farm operations which produce their own fuel or which recycle kitchen grease or whatnot. That's probably green, right? No, we're talking about industrial plantations, enormous plantations dedicated to the production of fuel crops. The myth is that because these fuel crops are renewable, that they are green automatically, that they are sustainable. Well, we had a renewable fuel crop at one time. They were called whales, and we almost hunted them into extinction. So simply being renewable doesn't mean that something is green.
This rush to go green could spell disaster for the nation's poorest, because the amount of corn it takes to fill the gas tank of an SUV with ethanol could feed a person for a whole year. It's a case of hungry people versus hungry machines.
What this does is set up direct competition between the 900 million people in the world who own cars and the 2 billion poorest people in the world for the same grain supply. We've never faced a situation like this before. So we now have more hungry people in the world probably than we've ever had. And it looks like it's going to keep increasing.
Could a combination of climate change and a rush to go green bring about hunger in the heart of the U.S.? Will we see more hungry people waiting in line? It's not just corn that is facing a potential crisis. Something else could trigger a global famine. Rice, the grain that 50% of the world's population relies on. Every day, an estimated 5 billion bowls of rice are eaten around the world. 90% of those are consumed in Asia. The fastest growing population in the world will add another billion hungry rice eaters in just 10 years. Can farmers grow enough to keep up with this incredible demand? They haven't. Over the past few years, Asia has been unable to grow more rice. In fact, the rice yields in the region have fallen below 1%.
We have seen in the last 15-20 years, generally speaking, a decline in the growth rates of rice yields. Some fraction of that certainly has to do with climate change already, and so it has already contributed probably also to the tight world supply and demand situation that we have at the moment.
Booming populations in Asia and a constant decline in rice harvests spell trouble. To meet the rising global demand, farmers will have to consistently produce an extra 7 million tons of rice year on year. But is this possible when a warmer world means even less rice? Rice farmer Prayong Galpradit is worried. Drought has stricken his land. Prayong used to be able to harvest 300 to 400 kilos of rice a year, enough to feed his family and some surplus to sell. But when, like this year, the rains don't come, they have nothing.
ข้าวหมานเขาเรียกข้าวหมานนะครับ ข้าวหมานก็คือจะไม่มีเม็ดเมล็ดข้างในนะครับจะไม่มีเมล็ดข้างในมันจะมีแต่เกล็ดเปล่าๆจะมีเกล็ดอย่างเดียวนะครับเราจะทำอะไรไม่ได้เลยก็ให้วัวกินได้อย่างเดียวนะครับก็จะไม่ได้ผลประโยชน์เลยถ้าฝนตกต้องตามฤดูกาลพื้นที่ตรงนี้5 ไร่ก็ได้ประมาณ2 ตันนะครับนี่ปีนี้เราจะไม่ได้เลยจาก2 ตันนี่เราไม่ได้เลยจะเป็นศูนย์เลยไม่ได้ผลประโยชน์จากตรงนี้
Farmers in Thailand have begun to get used to lower yields and lower incomes.
ข้าวปลูกที่เราลงทุนไปจ้างเขาดำจ้างเขาไถมั่งจ้างเขาใส่ปุ๋ยใส่อะไรเงี้ยจะไม่ได้เลยนะครับฝนมันแห้งแล้งก็ฝนไม่ตกต้องตามฤดูกาลก็ไม่ได้ผลผลิตเลยนะครับ
All of this doesn't sit well for rice-producing nations who rely on the crop not just for food, but as a major source of income. Already, Thailand is in danger of losing its place as the world's #1 exporter of rice. And if the climate continues to change, this could cause not just hunger, but instability. In the year 2050, could farmers like Prayong be seeing a world without rice?
คอยน้ำฝนอย่างเดียวคอยเทวดาอย่างเดียวถ้าฝนไม่ตกก็จะเป็นแบบนี้นะครับ
If rice production is unable to keep up with demand, who in the uneven balance of the world's economy would suffer? Will the haves and have-nots be pitted against each other in a desperate fight for survival? Could this be the gathering of a perfect storm?
The rich will have no problem shielding them off the effects of climate change. But it's the poor who can't move. And they'll have to sit it out on the stove that the rich may have created for them. And that will lead to social conflict, inevitable.
Probably the indicator to watch is the number of failing states in the world. The government no longer controls all the territory. So you get things like that beginning to happen, and it's sort of the early stage of how things could begin to break down.
What we will end up is, in 2050, is a world that is a lot more explosive. It would not be the first time in history that civilizations die out because they can't produce enough food anymore.
What if history repeats itself? Could we be facing the end of civilization as we know it? What could happen if the food runs out? The world's population hits 9 billion. Grain consumption is at its highest levels. Global temperatures are the hottest on record. Weather patterns around the world have become unpredictable. Cyclones in Bangladesh, record snowstorms in London, the worst ever drought in Iowa. The plague of climate change is here. News organizations worldwide are reporting global food shortages.
In Cambodia, there are also reports of hoarding. The price of rice on the black market is now $100. Supplying governments curb exports to prevent close its international borders in its desperate attempt to stop food.
At the World's Food Trading Center, rice and corn prices have climbed to record highs. As more and more speculations rule the market, trading is at its highest levels ever. The markets spiral out of control.
As governments curb exports to prevent unrest.
The world is slipping slowly into chaos.